Seeing the world around us is something we do every day. Take a moment right now to look around. What do you see? You may at first think of objects' names: clock, table, chair, this, that, etc. But we aren't concerned with what they are called. Look around and notice their shapes. How do they appear? Do they appear soft, hard, rough, smooth, thick or thin, big or small, tall or short, long or compact? Follow around the outside edges of the objects you see. Do they have curved or straight edges? Or perhaps a combination of both? Now, notice the shapes around the objects. The shapes created in the space between. These shapes are created by the way the objects are positioned and related to each other. I want us to take a look at the strange shapes that we did from our last exercise. These shapes seemingly didn't make any sense, nor did they look really like anything. Your job was simply to copy them. Here are the shapes, not really looking like anything. So we bring them together and boom, we got ourselves a giraffe. Essentially, we tricked our minds into letting go of our assumptions of what a giraffe looks like, and instead we're able to focus on the actual shapes themselves. So try cutting out your own shapes and rearrange them. You may be surprised how accurately you actually drew them. Seeing is about being honest with what is around you and letting go of your mind's assumptions. We all get a little silly and attached to our assumptions in all parts of life, but when we let go of them, we are given the opportunity to gain a new understanding of something and see it for what it actually is. Let's take a look at some drawings. Many of you may feel like you can only draw to this level. Maybe you're like many who love the phrase that you can't even draw a straight line. Well, that's simply because most of us haven't been taught how to see like an artist does. You've learned to speak, to read, and to write. I'll bet you can learn to see as an artist does as well. When many people draw, they are simply pulling out symbols that they developed in elementary school or younger, just as you see here in these drawings. A symbol for the nose, for the eyes, for hair, a house. These symbols certainly have their own wonderful appeal, but they don't accurately represent what we actually see, because one's child mind doesn't know what to look for. In this lesson's exercise, we are going to learn a few tools that act as training wheels in helping us to let go of all the labels and preconceived assumptions that we have. We'll begin to learn how to see, and ultimately, this leads us in learning how to draw. When you draw, you need to translate what you see in a three-dimensional world onto a flat, two-dimensional surface. You can use drawing tools or training wheels, such as the grid, which you used in our last exercise. For this exercise, we are going to use something called a viewfinder to help us establish a contained picture frame and an imaginary grid. So we're taking what we've done so far, take it a step further. So let's take a look. Now we're going to make a handy viewfinder like this one right here. There it is. Very nice, very nice. And it's going to aid us in looking at what's before us and that viewpoint, and it's going to help us to contain what we see so we can use the picture frame, and that's what we'll be establishing with this guy, to guide our eyes. So we are going to draw a simple object from life using our handy viewfinder. Now you can choose any object that you want, anything that you can find, maybe something in the kitchen, but make sure it's something that's simple, and if there is any parts of it that are a little more detailed, we're just going to not worry about that and focus on a simple line drawing. I happen to have this beautiful, wonderful globe here, and I'm not going to worry about drawing in the map and that section, but I'm just going to focus on the shape. As you can see in our little overlay image, I have marked the edges of the viewfinder frame in white to establish grid points for our imaginary grid of greatness. Essentially what I'm doing now on my piece of paper is matching the proportions of these marks on the viewfinder to a larger scale. We are creating a map for ourselves that will guide us as we draw. So now this is your setup, and on the left side is your beautiful object, there it is, and here you are, the wizard artist, on the right. Without a viewfinder, our perspective, as you can see here, as it illustrates, is very large and can be overwhelming to deal with. By throwing a viewfinder in there, and here's a good view of what that would look like, you're looking through the viewfinder, we limit our perspective and give ourselves a frame to draw within. Now, you can hold the viewfinder with your free hand as you draw, but you may find it easier to set up a stand of some sort that will free you from having to concentrate too much on holding the viewfinder while you're drawing. This is something, maybe use a microphone stand or construct something yourself. As you draw, look for landmarks, as I'm doing here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm utilizing the grid points to guide me, saying things like the right side of this sphere is around a quarter block from the right, or the bottom of this sphere is just past the vertical halfway mark. And continue to utilize this relationship that you've created by using the frame of your viewfinder and then matching that with the frame of your drawing and the grid and these points that you have on your viewfinder and the way they match the points that you have on your piece of paper. And one thing to keep in mind as you draw, don't expect to get it perfect the first try. And in fact, part of learning to draw, or anything for that matter, is being able to embrace the mistakes, and in this case, the many bad drawings that you will do. In fact, you can even expect this drawing to not turn out so good, and that's okay. Just keep pressing on, and even do the exercises multiple times to really hone in on these principles that you're learning, as they will be continually used as you advance in this course. As you copy what you see, remember to let go of any assumptions you might have about what you think something looks like, and instead really focus on what you actually see. Ask yourself these sorts of questions. What direction are the edges of the masses going? How do the shapes and edges relate to the grid or to the picture frame established by the viewfinder? Seeing is an important step in learning to draw. So good luck.